Las Vegas.
Jesus Christ.
Viva Las Vegas. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Morning Blast. The last one until next week because if you haven't guessed, I'm off to Las Vegas. What show are we doing? This is Morning Blast. Yes, hello, welcome everyone. Before we get underway, because I'm in an excitable mood today, I'll get the legals out of the way because no doubt I'll get into trouble. As usual, nothing to discuss on this Spaces session constitute trade or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ. Myself, Ryan Paisley, or the magnificent Mr. Michael Brown. How are you, my dear friend?
Good morning. I'm not feeling magnificent this morning. I slept terribly. I woke up
I
with
did as well, actually,
a
but mine was
cracking,
more.
cracking headache, and then some dwarf decides to scream at me as soon as I join this phone call.
Well, I didn't sleep very well either, but that's mainly because I'm, almost like the day before Christmas. So I'm definitely not sleeping tonight, but yeah.
Oh dear. Well, speaking of Christmas, I saw those horrible shoes that you were packing for your Vegas trip.
Behave.
Some
What
sort
you
of
mean my luminescent,
camouflage sneakers.
yeah, with a bit of luminescent green, you know me, and a bit bright colours. Anyway, enough about my wardrobe and my holidays. What's been occurring in markets?
Indeed. I never knew that Gap Kids specialised in fluorescent clothing, but there
Oh,
we
you'll be
go.
surprised. You'll be surprised.
Right. Good morning, everybody. It was an interesting day yesterday. We started off relatively shaky across the board as we covered. This time yesterday morning, but the sentiment did steady as the day progressed, and actually equities ending the day in the green, with the S&P 500 up by about 0.5%, and the Nasdaq 100 adding about 0.75%. That said, we have seen some of those gains unwind this morning, and despite the steadiness that came into the equity market as the day went on, the sell America trade did persist elsewhere, with treasuries moving higher in terms of yield across the curve, the 30-year yield rising to test 5% once more, while the dollar traded broadly softer against all of its major peers, with the dollar index down by about 0.5%, trading back under the 99 figure, cable reclaiming 135 and the euro reclaiming the 114 mark, although as I mentioned, some of those moves have also been retraced in early deals this morning. In terms of catalysts yesterday, there were a few notable headlines on the trade front. The first came from CNBC, who, to be honest, were doing a bit of a rehash of some of the reporting that we had out over the weekend, noting that Trump and Xi, Chinese President Xi, are expected to speak, quote, very soon, likely sometime this week. Those comments were then echoed later in the day by the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, although China have come out and poured a bucket of cold water on that this morning, with the Foreign Ministry's spokesperson noting, and I quote here, "I have no information to share on any call between President Xi and President Trump." So it seems that, as if it wasn't clear already, the desperation for that call is coming from one side and one side only. Also on the trade front yesterday, we heard from Reuters, citing sources familiar with the matter, that the Trump administration is asking countries to submit their, quote, best offers in tariff talks by Wednesday. The Trump administration have obviously set this 8th of July deadline for trade deals to be finalised, but they want offers in this week, and they are asking for these proposals to cover both concessions on both tariffs and quotas, as well as non-tariff barriers, digital trade and economic security measures. Now, I would just caution, of course, with this one, that a firm deadline in the mind of Donald Trump is not exactly what a firm deadline is in, if you look at the Oxford Dictionary definition of the word. So do just bear in mind that that is likely to be very, very flexible indeed. Lastly, on the trade front, we did hear out of the EU yesterday, they were saying that they strongly regret the US's decision to raise steel tariffs and that they are prepared to impose countermeasures if talks fail. There's going to be another meeting between the EU trade chief Šefčovič and the USTR Greer. They are going to be meeting at some stage tomorrow. In terms of other notable catalysts from yesterday, on the data front, it was a relatively light calendar, although we did get the latest ISM manufacturing PMI figures out of the States. A miss on the headline index at 48.5. That was below the prior 48.7 and the consensus of 49.5. I would just caution, though, that there was a huge drag on this headline metric from inventories. The inventories gauge fell by 4.1 index points on a month-on-month basis, while the other four sort of sub-indices that feed into the headline number were all very, very little changed or marginally firmer on the month. Prices paid down to 69.4, new orders up to 47.6, employment up to 46.8. So a little bit of a skew in that data. And of course, also do bear in mind, as we've discussed at some length, there has been an incredible divergence recently between sentiment data, which has been very, very soft, and hard data, which has remained more resilient. So do, of course, bear in mind that the sentiment surveys are, it seems, somewhat overstating the detrimental impact of uncertainty on the US economy. Other headlines from yesterday, just to run through a few other bits and bobs. The EU, they have voted to curb China's access to medical device procurement within the bloc. This is the first action the EU have taken under something called the International Procurement Instrument. I do just wonder, and maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but I do just wonder whether this is anything to do with accusations from the US that the EU is trying to cozy up to China. Maybe they are trying to show that things are not as cosy in that relationship as some may have feared. Sticking with Europe, Germany. Oh, go on.
Sorry, if I may, just because it's related to this. So just on that, we've already had China come back and slam the EU, their move to curb the medical supply contracts. A Commerce Chamber spokesperson decried the bloc's limits, urging a rethink to avoid escalating trade frictions.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
That's right.
Sticking with Europe and Germany yesterday, their antitrust watchdog is having a moan at Amazon. They are concerned about Amazon's price control mechanisms. That's all they said, which is rather annoying because I was hoping to be able to give a little bit more colour on that, but sadly not. Over the other side of the Atlantic, we did hear from the Fed's Logan yesterday. She was talking about how the economy has been resilient despite ongoing uncertainty. Policy is well positioned and that the risks to each side of the dual mandate are balanced. Pretty much a reiteration of her recent script. We also heard from Goolsby yesterday, because it was a day with a Y in it. He decided to make some remarks. He was again stressing how once tariff uncertainty lifts, they are likely to be able to deliver rate cuts, and the rates are likely to be lower in 12 to 18 months' time than they are now. Fed Chair Powell also made remarks yesterday, although he did not comment on either the monetary or the economic outlook. The only reason I mention that is because it was Powell's last scheduled appearance before the pre-meeting blackout period, which starts at close of play on Friday. And just to wrap up with a few AI-related, tech-related headlines. Meta, according to the Wall Street Journal, they are going to fully automate ad creation using artificial intelligence. They are hoping to create and target ads using AI by the end of 2026. Bully for them, I guess. We also heard from IBM. They have unveiled something called Watson X AI Labs, which is, and I quote, the ultimate accelerator for AI builders, startups and enterprises. It sounds like a load of old marketing bullshit, to be completely honest with you.
Is Pony AI involved? If not, I don't give a shit.
I don't think they are with that one, sadly.
Well, in that case, it's probably a load of bollocks.
Oh, but having said that, speaking of pony, Snowflake, they are ponying up for a firm called Crunchy Data, who they are going to buy for $250 million. To be honest with you, both of those company names sound made up. But there we go. That is all from me for the time being.
Well, thank you very much for that. Just before I crack on with the overnight news headlines via our good friend Zach, taken from the overnight news roundup. Again,
Zach's late attendance this morning has been noted.
Yeah, well, that to be fair, it's because he's been watching one eye on the markets. Because just as we came on air, the Dutch right-wing leader has pulled out of government, triggering the Dutch government to collapse. And apparently, according to Zach, the SPOO's dropped nearly 20 handles on this, which, as he notes, may be a bit of a sign, a bit of a warning. Bears having to go at anything at the moment, so we'll see what happens there.
Has Zach realised that they've already recovered 15 of those handles?
Well, they're not door numbers, mate. They're not door numbers. When he posted it, they were probably down 20. There you go. Yeah, not door numbers, old son. But anyway, getting back to some headlines. God, I really can't wait to get on that plane tomorrow.
Not
anyway, Yeah, hey, so trade, what one we're doing? China pushes for permanent US tariff rollback, dangles hefty trade perks. Vice Premier He Lifeng offers farm and energy buys. Funny enough, there's Angie. I can see we've been saying from day one that farm and energy buys will be the easiest low-hanging fruit for China. Plus US investments to secure chip access and cement a lasting tariff truce. China's trade czar vows to play hardball in tariff talks. Aligned with Xi, the tough talk and negotiator signals a fiercer stance, raising stakes in China's showdown. So a bit of a two-way street on that one. It looks like there's a bit of a carrot and stick, sorry, on that one. That'd be one to follow. I guess it makes sense to, we know for a fact that China are desperate to get access to chips and stuff. So looks like they might be helping out the farmers in the US if they can get access there. Trump touts tariffs as economy's rocket fuel, demands swift retaliation rights. His truth posts champion tariffs as growth drivers, warning that without them, the US economic survival is at risk. Lutnick beams optimism for US-India trade deal by July deadline. The Commerce Secretary's confidence hints at a breakthrough to dodge Trump's looming tariff hikes on India. Just on this, we did see the Republicans yesterday attempting to get a bill going, which would give anyone that buys Russian energy 500% tariffs, and that is basically one eye at China and India.
500%.
Yep, 500, 500. It's
So it's all right
basically,
because according to Trump on Truth this morning, the economy is booming because of
yeah.
tariffs. So yeah,
Well,
it does
no,
make it 1,000%.
wait, this is it. Why stop there? But yeah, that's obviously one eye on India and China because I think they're 70% of Russia's energy purchases at the moment. So yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on there. China slams EU's move to curb medical supply contracts. We just read that one out with Michael. UK's Reynolds races to align US trade deal amid steel tariff storm. Tuesday's talks with USTR Greer aim to navigate fresh US duties complicating a transatlantic pact.
This is, for those who are unaware, this is Johnny Reynolds, the business secretary, who,
Yeah.
to the best of my knowledge, has never actually worked in a business and lied on his CV about being a solicitor. So
Yes, that fella. But then that's
bodes
what
well.
politicians do, right? I don't think there's one politician in the current government that's actually had a proper job. But just a one on this. Funny enough, we did mention this. Me and Yanji mentioned this yesterday. The UK going to the US looking for concessions to help the UK steel industry. Good luck with that, because the US Trump's administration are very protective of their own steel industry, as we're seeing with the Nippon Steel purchase. So
Mm.
it's almost like the Labour government haven't read what's going on in the world and where the low hanging fruit with Trump is, because they've gone for the highest hanging fruit and they ain't gonna have a fucking chance, in my opinion. But anyway, I hope to be proven wrong. India and Europe close in on a half. India and Europe close in on half of trade deal chapters. Progress in negotiations signal potential breakthrough, strengthening economic ties despite global tariffs. Macro news: global bonds catch a breather after Japan's 10-year sale sparks demand. Strong bidding offers relief, but a looming 30-year auction tests investor appetite for long-dated debt. Trump battles GOP rebels to ram through a multi-trillion-dollar tax bill. This is going on and on and on. Frantic calls on social media, please target holdout senators wary of ballooning deficits. UBS bets on 10-year treasuries, citing US growth slowdown risks. The strategists at UBS predict benign inflation and economic softening will keep yields from breaching 4% anytime soon. China's factories falter. The May Caixin PMI signals tariff pain. First contraction in 8 months underscores US trade barriers bite on manufacturing might. BOJ's Ueda treads lightly, eyes rate hikes only with robust growth. The government pledges to review bond tapering, wary of declining appetite for super long JGBs.
He is, just
Gone.
seeing as you mentioned it, I may as well bring it up. Ueda is due to speak again in precisely 5 minutes' time.
Oh, but don't listen to him. Stay here.
Yes,
Listen to
please
us.
do. We're more
Uh,
interesting.
Yeah, exactly. You'll understand us. Well, maybe. RBA weighed bold 50 basis point cut amid tariff fueled global risks. May minutes revealed debates over aggressive easing to counter trade and geopolitical, easy for me to say, uncertainties. UK business confidence soared to 9-month peak under Starmer. again, I don't think these two are
Oh
related. And
God.
again, I mentioned, funny enough, last week or week before, I mentioned about the Lloyd's Business Barometer. I think it's a pile of shit. And the fact that it's giving optimism under this current government, I think that proves me right, especially with high energy costs threatening industrial strategy plans. But anyway, Japan's domestic investment hits a record. Exports lagged. The first quarter capital spending surged, driven by local demand, whilst trade sectors cut back. In geopolitical news, Trump vows to halt Iran's uranium enrichment in nuclear deal. His truth post draws a hard line, signaling no compromise as talks with Tehran intensify. Interesting one on this one. This post where he denied that he wanted to, where they were going to enable Iran uranium enrichment, comes after the wires were printing headlines saying that Trump or the administration are considering allowing Iran to enrich uranium as part of a deal. So very much mixed messages from the administration there. It does feel like perhaps after that first headline came out about the administration allowing Iranian enrichment, that they might have had a couple of phone calls and a couple of taps on the shoulder and said, hang on a second, you can't do that, because it was quite a swift rebuttal. Macron and Maloney aim to mend ties amid Trump's geopolitical shake-up. Tuesday's Rome meeting seeks unity as Europe navigates US policy shifts and global tensions. We've mentioned a few times, obviously, with Maloney going over to the US recently, that she's very much, well, Maloney isn't pro-EU. She's anti-EU. She doesn't really like a lot of the other people in the EU, such as Macron. So when she went over to see Donald Trump, we did say, hang on, this isn't with her EU hat on. She's very much Italy first. So it appears, and kind of we did mention this might happen, that the other European leaders are kind of cozying up to her in hopefully getting a bit of a traction and a bit of an open door into Trump by the sounds of it. But that's just my opinion. UK bolsters NATO's role, eyes submarine fleet to counter Russia. Starmer's, quote, war-ready pledge strengthens nuclear deterrence amid doubts over US alliance commitment. I did see Starmer apparently promising 4 new munitions factories and a ton of new munitions to be built. Again, it ties in with what you posted this morning about Rementhal being upgraded to the the Eurostoxx 50 at the expense of, who was it, Krieger? Who was it?
Caring.
Kering, sorry. Again, I think it's just the way the world's going. I think defence stocks are actually flying, and I think this is another shot in the arm for companies like Rementhal. But that's it on geopolitics. Oh no, sorry. Taiwan faces China's relentless military flexing in May. Daily warship deployments escalate Beijing's pressure, testing Taipei's defences and regional stability. Equity news. TSMC shrugs off US tariffs, rides AI demand wave. Despite trade talks with Washington, the insatiable AI chip orders keep the Arizona and Japan plants humming. Everyone loves a good Hummer. China, oh God, Ryan. China's tech titans like Xiaomi reel from US chip software curves. New restrictions on design tools strengthen homegrown AI chip ambitions, hitting firms hard. Nvidia and MediaTek team up for gaming laptop chip conquest. Their ARM-based APU with Blackwell GPU aims to dominate the booming gaming hardware market. Nerds.
I don't know
Samsung.
what any of that means.
Nah, nor do I. I'm surprised I read it, to be honest. Samsung dives into Perplexity AI, redefining device search tech. Investment integrates AI-driven search, positioning Samsung to lead smart device innovation. Sanofi, they've snapped up Blueprint Medicines for $9.5 billion. Dollars, targets rare diseases. We did hear that this was on the cards yesterday, so it seems a bit of a repeat on that headline. And finally, for me, Snowflake nabs crunchy data for 250 million, boosts AI database play. Actually, this is what you said just now, isn't
I was
it?
going to say,
Sorry.
I'm glad you're paying attention to what I said 10
Sorry.
minutes ago, right?
I apologise, but
Yeah.
that's it from me. I'm on my holidays. See you later, suckers.
Right, well, before Judith disappears for yet another bloody holiday, you people go on.
Viva Las Vegas!
We've got a productivity problem in this country, and, people wonder why. There's a
Viva Las
sample size of 3 here, because I'm bringing Zach in as well. 66% of that sample spend 50% of the year on holiday. Anyway, rant over. On to today. We do have a few things of note on the economic docket at 10 o'clock this morning.
Pardon?
We have the latest inflation figures due out of Europe. Headline CPI, that's seen falling to 2% on an annual basis in May, down from a prior 2.2%. And that will be back at the ECB's target for the first time since October of 2024. Core inflation, that's also seen sliding to 2.4%, down from a prior 2.7%. Of course, money markets already fully discounting a 25 basis point ECB cut at this Thursday's meeting and pricing a total of 55 basis points cuts by the end of the year. Also at 10 o'clock, we have the latest unemployment data out of Europe. Unemployment set to have held steady at 6.2% in the month of April. Moving into the US session this afternoon at 3 o'clock London time, we have the latest factory orders data. Orders seen having fallen by 3.2% in April compared to the 4.3% rise that we saw in March. Also at 3, we get the latest JOLT job openings data, and that's expected at 7.1 million, down from a prior 7.19 million. In terms of other things to keep an eye on today, we do have plenty of central bank speakers, including the Fed's Logan, Cook and Goolsbee, BOJ Governor Ueda, who is speaking right now, and the BOE Governor Andrew Bailey, Deputy Governor Sarah Breeden, and external MPC members Catherine Mann and Swati Dhingra, who will be testifying to the Treasury Select Committee
Sorry.
mid-morning.
Did you say Sweaty Dingra?
No, Swati is her name.
I thought you called her Sweaty Dingra.
No,
Sorry.
no. You
Sorry.
can't laugh. People would probably laugh at your name.
Wow.
Well,
What you
especially the
mean?
nickname, but I'm not allowed
You
to talk about that.
you mean Ryan?
No, I
Moving
don't
on.
mean that.
Moving on.
The last thing I have to say is about earnings today. There are no notable earnings before the market open, but after the close, we do hear from CrowdStrike, who are something to do with technology, but I can't remember what. All I know is we use them here, but I don't know what we use them for. Apart from that, that is all from me for this morning. And assuming Ryan survives his trip to Las Vegas, we'll be back. Next Monday?
Wednesday.
When's fucking hell? How long are you away for?
Oh, too long, mate. Too long. Considering last time I promised myself I'd never go back because I had a bit of a psychotic episode on my way back to the airport from the casino. But yeah, it is what it is. I land Tuesday morning. Thank you, Chris Dunn. Yeah, he just confirmed you did say Sweaty. But anyway, Michael,
Set the
thank you so
tapes.
much. Michael, actually, I might, if you're interested, you could buy me a pint later on to say goodbye to me. I'll be around. But listeners, thank you so much as always for tuning in.
You've got my number. Let me know.
Yeah, all right. Bring your card. Listeners, yeah, okay. What was I going to say? Oh, I don't know. To be honest, I've already clocked off. Yeah, hopefully
You
see you
never
next
clocked
week.
on.
Hey, right. On that note, laters.
Bye for now. Oh, God.